Shah from EOS Blocksmith here, and I just wanted to show you guys a few EOS web resources that you may not have heard of before. And I think a lot of these are really valuable and useful. Maybe some of you pros have seen some of these. Some of you advanced EOS diehards out there have seen some of these, but hopefully you'll at least see one or two sites that you hadn't seen before that will be good resources as you go forward. First one I want to talk about is this one called All Things EOS. It just missed making our last EOS Web Resources video because it had just come out, I think, like the day before we made that video. But this is something that's created by EOS Arabia, and it is essentially just a really well-curated listing of EOS bookmarks online. And it's really nicely categorized, or organized by category, I should say. So there's stuff on different block explorers. There's stuff for account management. There is websites for EOS games, for airdrops, different wallets. Even if you're looking for like a job within the EOS space, they've got some sites for that. They've got some YouTube channels, as you can see, we're on there, so I like that. So this is a great resource. Definitely bookmark this bad boy if you haven't seen it yet. Next one I want to talk about is the EOS Boot Camp by EOS Dublin. Now they created this essentially like an online education platform or portal, and there's a bunch of different courses. They've categorized them by beginner or developer, or if you're a block producer, there's some courses on some stuff there. They've got some different language courses, which I really think is awesome. And it's actually, it's been contributed to by a lot of different block producers. So for example, EOS Asia, we've contributed a course, EOSphere, Blockgenic has done several courses, EOS New York, EOS Nation. So it's really actually a cool collaboration from a lot of different block producers to create some sort of education portal where you can find EOS content. So definitely check that out. There's probably some of you out there that are like, oh yeah, I've heard of all these already. Well, I bet this is one that you might not have heard of. This is a website called Shensi.com, and it's actually a resource that some of the Asian block producer groups have put together. I think it's EOS Beijing and Gravity. And again, it's kind of like a website with a lot of curated links. I like that all of their links have a little logo or icon. It just kind of brings the links to life a little bit more. So there's like block producer links and toolkits and wallets, just like we saw on the All Things EOS site. Some things that are on this site that you don't find on other sites, I think, is access to some of the Asian content. So they've curated a list of some of those popular WeChat channels where discussions happen in China about EOS, Weibo channels, Bihu channels. Again, stuff that I'm not really familiar with. I know there's tons of conversation and discourse and stuff going on in the Asian community because EOS is so big over in Asia, but this kind of gives us a glimpse into some of those things, and you can link to some of those. It's also got links to some of those popular Telegram channels. And they also have this fun thing that I actually like. They call it news, but it's not really like a news section per se. It's really just stuff that Dan Larimer has said on Telegram. So it's a bot that I think collects data every time Dan Larimer makes a comment on Telegram, and it kind of puts them all here. So if you want to know what's the latest thing Dan has said about X, Y, or Z, you can kind of come here and scroll through. I think there's Telegram bots that do this now too. You can find one somewhere. But again, it's kind of like a fun little resource. Okay, next site I want to tell you about is this site that's actually created by this guy named Controlling Hand on Telegram, and it's called EOSratings.com. I'll put all the links in the comments below this video. But essentially, this is, he's created something called a value add matrix. And what this is, you know, a lot of people are trying to decide what block producers to vote on based on what, you know, random criteria they can find out there. And a lot of it ends up being subjective. And I think as this community matures, we're going to need to find more objective ways to rank block producers and to judge with objective criteria what value these block producers are bringing. And frankly, block producers are bringing value to the whole EOS network in a lot of different ways. And that's what this guy kind of realize is that there's not just one way to bring value to the network, and there's different ways. And so he essentially looked at all the different ways that block producers can bring value to the network. So maybe they've created a really cool wallet, or maybe they have a voting monitor that's really cool. Maybe they're doing a lot of stuff in education. Maybe they have a price tracker that you really like using. Maybe they're doing tons of EOS outreach to the community. They are doing meetups in locales, or reaching other continents. Maybe they've created a really valuable test net where other block producers and dApps can kind of test things. So there's so many different ways, and this guy basically decided to give any team that has one of these different types of tools, basically give them credit for making something in that category. And then also you can go in and rank the different tools. So maybe one wallet, like maybe the GrayMass wallet is one that you love, you think it's awesome, you can go in and give it 5 stars. Maybe there's a wallet from someone else that is untrustworthy, or people don't use it, and you can go in and kind of give that 2 stars or 1 star or whatever. And so it kind of ranks block producers based on these different categories and the value that they feel like it's bringing. And I think it's really useful. One good example I give you is EOS Aloha, which I think is an outstanding block producer. They've been out of the pay since almost the beginning, just out of the pay too, just outside of a paid standby position, until I think about 3 days ago they just got voted for by a huge proxy, and so now they're actually making some EOS. I'm super happy for them. But they are someone who has been contributing a ton of tools. They actually have more tools. I mean, I think they've checked every category off in this guy's matrix. And so they're ranked #1 on this matrix for bringing value, and I think that's really cool. So this is an objective tool that you can use to kind of value block producers and what they're bringing to the table. All right, finally, I can't make a video about EOS Resources without highlighting our new tool. It's called the EOS Blocksmith Workshop, and it's essentially an EOS dashboard. I use it as my homepage because I think it's awesome, because I helped decide what was going to be on this, because they're all the things that I would want to see. We've created an EOS news section that pulls articles from Reddit. It pulls articles from like CoinDesk or other like well-known crypto news agencies. It pulls stuff from Twitter. So I can always like at a glance see like what kind of news or what stuff is going on, what are people talking about. It pulls price data for EOS in different currencies like in USD or Bitcoin. It has a RAM graph, so I can always see what's going on with the RAM price, and a RAM utilization tool, so you know how much RAM is reserved on the network. We've done our own, we've partnered with EOS Vibes to do block producer rankings. And then also, more interestingly, we've got a top 5 gainers for 24 hours and top 5 losers. So you can see if there's been any like big moving or shaking over the last 24 hours. It also shows the percent change in the last 24 hours, which I think is such a useful piece of data, and a lot of block producer ranking sites don't have that information. We've added a featured article and a featured video, because there's so much EOS news that's coming out, so we wanted a way to, for people to kind of see what's new, what's hot, what are people talking about. We added links to my absolute ultimate favorite EOS resources on the web, so the Generous EOS Toolkit, the Block Explorer, blocks.io, the Aloha proxy tool, and the Mediterranean vote tracker, which I think are like 4 of my absolute favorite resources and my go-tos, and I wanted a way to get to them really fast. Anyway, that's your 5 sites. Remember, all things EOS, the EOS Boot Camp, shensai.com, the Value Add Matrix, and the Blocksmith Workshop. Hope you guys find some of these tools useful. Give us a shout out on Telegram and subscribe to our YouTube channel if you like this content. Have a great Sunday, EOS fans, and I'll catch y'all later.